just referenced your opening game Saturday against Penn State in Dublin, Ireland, and talked about how you have some amateur geologists among us paying attention to volcanoes in Iceland. How do you and your team keep yourself focused through training camp and then focus on a football game just played in Ireland as you get ready to go?
All right, well, we start practice, way back in July 30th there, so, and school started August 18th, so we've been mixing both up a little bit, practice as far as preseason and start of school, but again, it's probably been the hottest August I can remember down here as far as heat index and all that. It's up in around 104, 105 heat index. But again, I thought the players have been very resilient at the practice as far as working through things, the heat, the sticky part of heat, and really that's what makes a team, in my opinion, as far as not the easy weather, but the tough weather and working through it. And I think they've done a great job, and obviously the experience back from last year is shown in practice, and I've been pleased with the effort in practice and just the way the kids have really conducted themselves as far as working through practice and getting things done and understand the scheme of what we're trying to get accomplished just in the base fundamentals and game plan.
Take questions for Coach George O'Leary, please. *1 on your telephone to join the queue. The operator will introduce you. And we can go right ahead with questions.
And we'll take our first question from Gary Smith with the New Orleans Advocate.
Hi, Coach. With Tulane and Houston debuting new stadiums this year, I think that's 5 for the league with teams since the turn of the century, including yours. How much is your home stadium on campus? Do you feel how much does that give you a home field advantage, and how nice has that been for you guys?
Well, I think any college team that can play on campus is a big lift as far as just for the student body, the fan base. Something you can call your own, I think is very important. And I think the players take great pride in protecting their own house and playing to a home crowd. And again, some of the stadiums that they play in are great stadiums, but they're not theirs. I think once you have your own stadium, it's something that I think the players take a lot more respect for, and I think it's great for the fan base and just for the interest of football at the school itself. So I think both Houston's had their home stadium. Tulane hasn't, but I think it's going to help, no question, Tulane as far as fan interest and just the overall fan base. I think that's really what you want is your own stadium on campus, and I think I'm happy that they've got that accomplished.
I think all of them have been moderately sized to kind of fit the fan bases. Do you think that helps? Does that create a better atmosphere? I think yours is actually the biggest of the ones that have
yeah, I think it does. I think it's not necessarily if you have 70 or 80,000 there. It's just the people that are supporting your program, and you want to play in front of a packed house, and whatever that attendance is in your stadium, I think is fine. And I think the players will grow to respect the stadium and the home turf, and I think it's something to call their own. So I think that's a great positive as far as the programs are concerned.
Thank you.
And we'll take our next question from Zach McMillan, the American Appeal at Memphis.
Hi, George.
Hey, Zach.
What impact do you feel like the targeting rule that was instituted last year, it's been adjusted a little bit this year, what impact do you feel like it had? And I'm curious if it changed anything in terms of how players are coached and even if it affected game strategy.
Well, I think as a coach, you're constantly teaching not to use the crown of your helmet, and as far as any type of initial contact, and I think that's something that you're coaching all the time. And I always tell our players that if you're going for the ball all the time as a secondary guy, it's very hard to be called for targeting. It's when, I think targeting is very easy to define when there's example of cherry picking or waiting for a guy to come across and you're setting them up. But I think the one rule I'm happy about with targeting is they eliminated the 15-yard penalty if it was not targeting. I thought last year that was something that it's very difficult to make up the 15 yards if you're an offense or defensive team. So I think that it's a good rule as far as protecting the athletes. I think it's a rule that, as a coach, you have to make sure your players thoroughly understand what targeting is and the emphasis that the officials have on that, and especially with the quarterback this year with the tackling below or lunging below the knees on them, and anything from the shoulder pads up, they're going to be looking for. So you have a very small target with that quarterback in the back in that pocket. So I think you have to coach that up with your players and understand that, you're always looking to wrap players up. I think that's the key, and I think that's, what we coach, and I think that's what, but it's a judgment call by officials, and again, there's a replay on it, so I think it's something that it's going to be a lot of that done this season, I think, as far as replays are concerned on targeting rules, and depends how many they're calling and just basically what the interpretations are and how they're interpreting it.
Do you feel like it did sort of cut down on that cherry picking, as you called it?
Oh, I think it really helped what was put in for the cherry picking, as far as that defenseless receiver coming across the middle, and you got a backside defender just waiting there. He has no intention of playing the ball at all. He's just going after the player. I think that's what targeting, as I know it is, and as far as but it's such a bang play when there's one-on-ones and stuff like that. I think it's a tough judgment call, but I think targeting for cherry picking is very easy to call, because it's the guy's not making a play on the ball. It's strictly the player, and I think that should be called.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll take our next question from Joe Giuliano with the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Sure.
Hi, George.
Hey, Joe.
James Franklin will be coaching his first game at Penn State on Saturday, and I wondered how difficult it is for a coaching staff to prepare for a guy who you haven't seen before coach that particular team. What ways are you preparing for this game with Penn State and a new coach?
Well, we basically, I've always believed you're only as good as your base offense or your base defense, and we've always worried about ourselves as far as getting better fundamentally, as far as blocking and tackling, and be able to get off blocks, DDF, and basically understand what your responsibilities are. And other than that, then we basically looked at what Penn State did last year, the personnel and what they have coming back, and what some of those coaches have done in prior programs they've been in. So it's sort of been a smorgasbord of a lot of different things we worked against. But again, you always go back to what your base is and how well you can handle adjustments out of that and work from there. And obviously there's game plan involved, but I still always fall back on base fundamentals and being good at the things you need to be good at, as far as your run fundamentals, your tackling fundamentals, and your blocking fundamentals, because eventually that's who wins the game, is the guys who can tackle and block the best.
And also, we were very impressed with Blake Bortles last year. Obviously, he's not there anymore. What are some of the attributes of the quarterback who will be starting for you on Saturday?
Well, Pete DeNova was named the starting quarterback, and I think we have enough players back in all the areas that can help manage the game. But Pete did the best job of taking the play from the sideline to the huddle to the execution, and really being a productive quarterback back there and limiting the mistakes. And that was the reason he was given the nod. I think all four quarterbacks are talented, but I thought Pete made the least amount of mistakes from the sideline to the huddle without the coaches on the field, which is what I look at all the time, as far as, just is he the fieldmanship guy you want on the field as the coach that you want to basically listen to in the huddle and basically carrying out the play call. So, and Pete did the best job at that, and that's why he was named the starting quarterback.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
And we'll move to our next question from Dustin Hawkinsmith with Patriot News.
Hi, George. I'm just wondering, you talked about Blake Bortles. Penn State has a pretty talented guy back there himself. I'm just wondering if you see any kind of comparison between what Christian Hackenberg can do and what Blake was able to do for you maybe a little earlier on his learning curve.
Yeah, I think Christian's an outstanding quarterback as far as what they've asked him to do last year, as far as, as a true freshman. I thought he had an outstanding year, and obviously the Big Ten did too by naming him the All-Star that they named him. But, he's a big guy that's smart, that can throw the ball, that can read defense, and he knows where to go with the ball. And he has that stature back there that he can take a hit and he can deliver the ball. And I just think the things he's done as a freshman I thought were outstanding. And I think if he continues doing what he did last year, I think he's just going to be a future great player at quarterback in the college scene.
We have time for one more question, please, for Coach O'Leary.
And we'll take our next question from Lee Carey with the Daily Collegian.
Hey, Coach. When this Coach Luck was originally set up, it was going to be O'Brien versus O'Leary, very Irish matchup there. So now it's not like that anymore with O'Brien gone. Does that change any of your excitement going into it?
No, I think it's a great game for the country of Ireland and for both UCF and Penn State. I think it's a great game for the kids to get that exposure. And and again, I think obviously when Coach O'Brien was there and it was more of a we discussed it as far as the game in Ireland with O'Leary and O'Brien, but right now it's UCF, Penn State, and that's the way it was to begin with, and that's the way it stayed.